exquisite perfection of love, holy innocence of all creation. In this eternal present moment, finding the willingness of the heart to accept innocence, tranquility, beauty, peace and joy that is the truth of all creation. Accepting that this is all that you are, eternally innocent, eternally one. The willingness to accept and embrace wholeness, holiness. In this moment, the willingness, finding that willingness within to release all identities that may have shown up today, all the concepts of separation that may have taken you in distraction, in the belief that there was something separate, that there was something unhealed, that there was something wrong, different, upsetting. And the willingness in this moment to surrender this day and all of those concepts, all of those ideas of separation, surrendering them all into love, into the power of love, the tranquility of love, the ease of love. And in this moment, finding the willingness in the heart to surrender the future into love, into the power of love, the hands of God. Surrendering the future, that it may unfold and will unfold in harmony and peace, ease and joy, as you accept that all is love, that all is innocence. And as you accept this willingness within, finding this willingness, finding the willingness to invite all of humanity into the heart, not wanting to keep anything or anyone separate, as different, as damaged, as forgotten, but inviting all of humanity into the heart of love by your choice, your choosing to remember love and to join in that love and holy union. And all the perceptions of damage and differences being surrendered in this moment. Wanting to see the Christ, the divine holiness of each beloved as one. Willing to see the innocence, the timelessness of each beloved as one. And as you are willing to embrace humanity and to relinquish all beliefs of differences. The divine heart reveals itself. The beauty and innocence of all creation. Breathing. Breathing deeply and fully in this moment. Inviting an opening to breath. Deeply breathing. And as you breathe in, breathing in the yes of love. And as you breathe out, letting go of all perceptions of limitation and separation. Breathing in the truth of love. And breathing out all perceptions of restrictions and constrictions of any kind, everything being surrendered into the power of love, power of God. And breathing, allowing, and continuing to breathe deeply and fully with wholeness and the whole intention of yes. Breathing into the throat, inviting the throat to open, willing to receive, letting go of the neck, breathing into the neck and the shoulders. Noticing if anything was held in the neck or the shoulders, that it can now be released into love. Surrendering and breathing into the spine. Surrendering the spine into the hands of God. Inviting the spine and willing to have the spine be the liquid of love, flowing easily and effortlessly as love and through love. Breathing. Breathing into the shoulders, arms, and hands, all being let go into love. And breathing into the heart. Inviting the heart chakra to open and come forward, undefended. Nothing to hold in separation, nothing to restrict in a defense system of any kind. And as you breathe into the heart, saying yes, and truly bringing that heart forward, open and available to all of humanity, and affirming that today I will trust in God. Today I will trust in harmony and compassion and love. Today I will open my heart and join in the sacred union of one heart. And breathing into the belly, surrendering all the organs into the hands of God. Not wanting to keep anything separate to be used for fear or protection. Everything's surrendered. And breathing into the hips and thighs, knees, calves, ankles, and feet, all surrendered into God, into love. Not wanting to keep anything separate as mine, as a separate identity. And breathing into the emotional body, surrendering the emotional body into the hands of God. No longer willing to have the emotional body run by the mind, by fear, but willing for the emotional body to express harmony and peace and joy and compassion. All in the name of love, all as love. Breathing deeply and fully finding the prayer in the heart to allow this identity of a body to be used by love. Let the body be used as an instrument of love. Embracing love. And all the senses being used for love. To hear only the sounds of love. To see only the truth of love. To speak only the words of love. Letting the heart come through all the senses. Affirming love. And continuing to breathe fully and deeply. Recognizing and accepting that here in the infinite circle of love we are one. This sanctuary is filled with love. This universe is all of love. And all of humanity is right here in the heart of love. There is only one presence here. It is the life force of God. And within this life force we live and move and breathe as one. One heart and one breath. Remembering love. Always in love. Eternally love. And that as you remember the truth of love and willingly accept the truth of love, you recognize there's never been anything else. Eternal love. Eternal light. As I sing this prayer, allow this prayer to vibrate through the heart and let it be your heart's yes, what you truly want. Oh Father, I pray for tenderness. Oh Father, I pray for the love. I pray for the awareness of my inner world. I open up my heart to receive you, Mother, to know the holy light, so I can see. Oh Father, I pray for tenderness. Oh Father, I pray for the love. I pray for the awareness of my inner world. Praying for the awareness of your inner worth. There's nothing missing. Your inner worth is whole and complete and intact. There's nothing missing. Everything that is being let go is the false perceptions, the false identities that say, I am unworthy, I am less, I am not whole, I am separate, I am without. And all that is being called for is to just say, yes, I'm willing to be aware of my inner worth and to let go of all false identity. And opening to that deep prayer within that 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 prayer is always heard, and that that prayer is the divine alchemy of love's healing, and miracles come through that prayer and collapse time, and the truth of inner worth is recognized. In this hymn, this prayer, this is a call in this prayer to release all beliefs of what the world knows as negativity, torment, difficulties, problems, confusion, and opening to the divine ease and peace of healing. O divine beings of light, my divine creator, free me from torment and free me from all beliefs of negativity. Here I ask to remember forgiveness, the forgiveness of love that remembers that the only thing that is being forgiven is the mistaken identity. Let me open to the truth of love within the truth of the divine Blessed Mother. Divine love, divine truth, hear this prayer and answer this prayer with all holy love. Here I ask to remember, help me to remember in every moment the truth of love. From the truth of love, I ask for the awareness of love. I ask for comfort within my heart. To firm myself, always staying in my heart. To pay attention, to remember, opening to all beloveds through divine love, extending my heart into love. Meu São João, meu divino Criador, livra-me desta tormenta, livra-me de todo mal. Aqui eu peço meu perdão, para poder merecer a Virgem da Conceição. Meu São João, Padrinho Sebastião, olha por esta filha, pela vosso santo amor. Aqui eu peço, venho pedir meu perdão, para poder merecer a Virgem da Conceição. Nestas alturas eu peço meu perdão, eu peço que eu seguro dentro do meu coração, para afirmar e ter sempre coração, ao beber de meus irmãos, pelo divinos amor. I ask for comfort within my heart. I ask to be freed from all beliefs of torment and negativity. I ask this because it is what I truly want. Let that be the prayer of your heart. Not just because it's painful, but because it does not let you open to the truth of love. It doesn't allow you to see the beauty and the perfection of all life. It closes and lowers itself as a veil. And in the asking and the yes, the willingness to be transformed, the willingness to open the heart and remember that only love is true, that only love exists. And that love. Beloved Hafiz has offered two loving poems of healing. But what can die? The earth is a host that murders its guests, but what can die? All dying just removes more of the husk over the soul's vision. All dying thins the veil over a wondrous world within. All of humanity is so afraid of death, and yet, in healing there is dying. There is a dying of a erroneous, made-up identity that has said, I must suffer, I must protect, I must defend, I must know, I must figure things out. Let it all die. Happily attending the funeral, tending to the funeral pyre, throwing everything that was believed to be true in this world, throwing it all into the fire. Happily releasing the false identity of separation. And then realizing that it never existed at all. As it falls away, that's what gets recognized. Oh, I made that all up. I had a dream, I had a nightmare, and it seemed so real. And yet, love keeps promising, let it all go and come home. Tremendously more true. She had a dream that told her she was going to pass from this world. And on the day before, she still felt well, but believed that these were her last hours, and come morning, friends would be looking at her as she lay still, no longer breathing. She went into her garden as she always had before dark and spoke to the plants as she would. Never more beautiful did the world look, never more a part of everything she now was aware she was. An assurance, some absolute certainty opened up in her, and she knew any mortal identification one could have were such a small part of something so tremendously more true that awaited our awareness. Her whole life, she saw, was like a slipper, often too tight, she had worn for a long day and did not now mind at all taking it off. She laid down that night and then merged into a brilliant sky. Someone could call God. She found her soul had always been holding in its hand. This is the journey of healing. The recognition that whatever you have been seeing in this world is such a small little particle of the possibilities of light and wholeness and love. And happily taking off that slipper as if you've been wearing an identity that has been way too tight, way too pinching, way too restrictive, and you let it go. You just let go of that old identity. The willingness to no longer believe in its authenticity. The willingness. Some absolute certainty opened up in her, and she knew any mortal identification one could have were such a small part of something tremendously more true, and that it awaited our awareness. Free me from this belief of separation. That is the prayer. The willingness to open to this divine, divine, divine existence of love that is right here. This is a call to death so that you can live. This is a call to let go and let fall away this false identity that you don't even have a sense of how complicated and intricate its whole identity is, but that the love, the power of love can transform and disintegrate all those beliefs right here, right now, if it's what you want. What can die? Dying just removes more of the husk over the soul's vision. When you believe in death and you believe in the identity as the body, this all seems terrifying, to let go of identity and then eventually to let go of the body as identification. But it's to take your trust and hold your faith that what is offered from every master is the truth of love, and that you will not be left without. What a cruel trick that would be. To surrender and then find out, oh, it was all a joke. There is no cruelty in love. There is no cruelty in God. Just opening and allowing that husk to fall off in all of its various beliefs of separation and limitation. When you no longer want that old identification, that identification falls away. When you no longer want it, to recognize that it is only that you want it that it remains in your beliefs a truth. But it isn't a truth at all. It's a false identity that has no purpose, that has no value. And underneath, as the husk falls off, you awaken to the beauty and perfection of eternal life. Let the husk fall off. There's a beautiful teaching that truth will correct all errors held in the belief system. Truth will correct all errors held in the belief system. You don't have to go very far to find truth. It's in every sacred teaching. But you have to want to accept that truth. You have to want so much to take that medicine. And it's a blessing when you feel so squeezed that you happily run to the medicine instead of fighting against the medicine, instead of fighting against the truth and wanting to be right, determined to have Custer's last stand once again. Truth will correct all errors held. I am mistaken when I think I can be hurt in any way. Can you accept that you are mistaken if you think you can be hurt in any way? This cannot be understood. But can you accept it? That's the key. I cannot be hurt in any way. This again, this is the medicine, the sweet nectar of love that is wanting to take you out of this perception of battle. I cannot be hurt in any way. Does the ego scream at this? Absolutely. Does the ego try to argue? Absolutely. Until you stop siding with that argument and take that leap of faith. And it is a leap of faith. When you believe that you have evidence that says, I can be hurt, I have been hurt, I am being hurt. When you have that evidence, it takes a leap of faith. At the very least, a little willingness to accept the medicine, the power of the divine truth that is wanting to transform right through that old veil, that old defense system. Custer's last stand, the willingness to drop the swords, drop all the defense systems, all the weapons, and to accept, I cannot be hurt in any way. I am the innocence of God. I rest safely in the heart of God. Right now, as in every moment, you are resting safely in the heart of God. You are resting safely in the heart of God. Are you aware of it? Probably not. Can you become aware of it? Absolutely. That's the only, if you want to call it a difference, between self-realization and being asleep, is the awareness. Doesn't change that you are always in the heart of God. You are always resting safely in the heart of God. In the truth, nothing is happening. This is blasphemy to the ego and to the world that has agreed on that state of separation. And it can be held as blasphemy, or it can be held and accepted as the dream, and that you are wandering in the desert, dying of thirst, and that this is your drink of water. But to really latch on, I am in the innocence completely and resting in the heart of God, in all safety, in all truth. Nothing else is true. This is the remedy. This is the power of love. When you join with that love, the power of love can transform. It isn't by trying to figure out what all of the meaning is of disturbance. It isn't about trying to identify what the disturbance means of any kind, trying to find the culprit within the belief of the story, the belief of the difficulty. There's no healing there. It's the recognition that I am in this moment in the safety of the heart of God, and nothing else is true. And I have always been in the safety of the heart of God. I have been mistaken believing that I was separate. I was mistaken believing that I was without. And all of the evidence that I am seeing and accounting for is what I have made out of my belief that I am separate and that I am without. The mind cannot wrap itself around this. It's not possible. The mind that made up the belief of pain and suffering and heartache and defenses needed cannot see through the concept of separation. It is in a place of trust. I am trusting that this is true. I am leaping in my trust that this is true. I want this, and I want to live this, and I want to accept this wholly. This is what I want. So the question becomes, do you desire a world where you are powerful instead of helpless? It's a question that stirs the trance. Do you want a world where you are powerful instead of helpless? Where you see yourself and accept that you are powerful instead of the belief that you are helpless. Now, helpless is a funny thing. Sometimes helpless looks like helpless, looks like weakness. But sometimes helpless, the belief of helplessness looks like I have to take charge. I have to fight. I have to win. I have to prove. I have to be in control. But everything that is running in trying to be in control, in trying to win, in trying to be in charge, is all coming from the belief of helplessness. There is never any reason to fight for control. There is never any reason to fight for being in charge or knowing or controlling anything or being right, except when there is fear and you feel helpless underneath it all. But do you want a world where you are aware of your power instead of being helpless? That is a question that has to really be asked all the time, because the choice is all the time. This kind of slips in and out. This questioning slips in and out because the ego takes back over again and says, okay, I'm in charge. I think I'm going to get control of this. I think I'm figuring this out. Mm-hmm. But do you want a world where you recognize that you are powerful instead of helpless? If you want that world, then that's the world through surrender. Mm-hmm. That's the world through allowing. That's the world through which you trust that you are in the heart of God. that choice is all the time. Do you weave in and out? Yes, because the forgetting is still as strong or close to as strong as the wanting of peace. So when you forget, it's to, in a way, to of the trance and really ask the question, do I want a world where I recognize I am powerful instead of weak? The reason that it shakes you up is because the world of illusion is upside down. And this is about turning it right side up. Not the world of illusion, but the truth. Right side up. The world of illusion is upside down. It says, I am powerful in my control. I am powerful in what I know. I am powerful in being right. But the key is that you never feel peace in that power, in what looks like power. You never feel peace, you never feel joy. You don't feel safe. So it's completely erroneous and upside down. And what's really going on is a belief of helplessness. It isn't true, but you feel that the world is attacking you and that you're helpless against it. You feel that the world is an unsafe place and you're helpless against it. You believe that death is real and you're helpless against it. You believe that you are a body and you are helpless against it. None of this is true. But it's all upside down. So now it's time to, in the truth of love, to turn it right side up and to recognize where the power really is coming from. Power comes from releasing all beliefs that you are separate and that you are in control of something, that there is anything to control. The healing is in the acceptance that there is not a knowing here, that there is nothing you can know through your senses, that there is nothing that you can know through your past that has any truth in it, but that you're willing to accept the divine knowledge, that truth is all that exists, that truth is love, that truth cannot die, that there is nothing ever to lose. Do you desire a world in which you have no enemies and that you cannot do anything wrong? You can't sin. Do you desire a world where you have no enemies? Truly. I mean, this, you can answer this question, yes, of course I do. But when you're in the world believing in enemies, you're believing in problems and you're believing in difficulties, that's not what you're wanting. You're wanting what you know. You're wanting to be right about what you know. So the question has to be deeply asked, what do I really want? Do I desire a world in which I have no enemies and I cannot sin? I cannot be wrong. It's a big leap of faith to want to have no enemies, because enemies are so convenient.
Mm-hmm.
They're so convenient because they keep you from recognizing your own self-hatred. They're very convenient. They keep you occupied. They keep you believing that you're getting a handle on the world and you're figuring it out. You're figuring it out. Who are those enemies? We all know those enemies. Those enemies are looking at me funny. Those enemies are saying things that I don't like. Those enemies are ones that I get irritated with. Those enemies are the ones that I lose patience with. Those enemies are the ones that don't do what I want the way I want it done, the way I like it done. Those are all the enemies. The enemies of greed, the enemies of scarcity, the enemies of the belief that somebody can take something from you or somebody has something that you don't have. The enemies that you believe that you are being attacked by. But do you desire a world that you have no enemies? If you desire that world, then it comes through the willingness to let go of what you know. And to accept that there cannot be any enemies. But do you desire a world of no enemies? Really? Then it's matching up your everyday life with what you truly want. But maybe you think, well, I truly do want a world without enemies, except all these enemies are just, they just won't stop. Mm-hmm. They won't behave themselves. It's their fault. If they would stop, I would be fine. If the world would stop behaving as it does, I would be fine. But it's not realizing that the healing can only come through you. It's your world. It's your world that you're seeing. It's your perception of the world. And everybody has their own perception. Is all of humanity mostly in agreement of what that perception is? Yes, it's the belief of separation, the belief of scarcity, the belief of loss, the belief of attack. Yes. But the healing actually does come when you truly want a world with no enemies, and you are willing to live in that yes, and no longer want to see anyone as an enemy in any way. You have a problem with someone? Maybe somebody's not cooperating? As soon as you believe that your world deserves their cooperation, you have made an enemy. You have made them an enemy. They aren't really an enemy, but you've made them an enemy because you don't see the truth within this divine being. You are seeing what you want to see. And then the complaint is, I don't know why I don't heal. I don't know why my prayers aren't heard. But your prayers are being heard. Your prayer is, I desire a world with enemies. And that's what you then see. Not as a punishment, but because it's what you are choosing. It's not an indictment that you're choosing it. It's a mistaken, erroneous, upside down identity of belief, separation itself. But nothing is happening. There is no separation. None. Truth will correct all errors. I have been mistaken. Do I want to see what I denied because it is the truth? If you believe that you see enemies, you're willing to deny what you have seen and accept the truth that all is one. This question of truth, do I want to see what I denied because it is the truth? In that, all of the other answers are held. You want to see a world without enemies, then you have to accept the truth, that there is no separation. If you want to see a world without enemies, without seeming problems, then you have to accept the truth that there is only love, and no longer deny that truth. There is only love. When the decision is made to believe that there is a problem, it's to recognize that a decision's been made. To actually recognize, oh, I've chosen something. The sooner that you can recognize that you're choosing something that is not of love, the more easily there is a coming back to sanity. So let's say your strategy is, I don't follow my thoughts. They just show up in the body. And they show up as irritation, they show up as insults, they show up as upset, they show up as nervousness, they show up as discomfort, they show up as all kinds of illusions of difficulty. Well, speaking to you, are you listening? Or are you so conditioned that the thoughts or the communication through the body is just, oh, that's right, I should be irritated at this because I don't like how this is going. I'm involved in something right now that I've already made up my mind how it should be, and it's not coming out the way I want it to, so I'm irritated. There's been a whole slew of decisions made in that moment. I had a particular outcome I wanted. I knew how it should be. I have rules that I want to follow. I want them to come out as I want them to come out, because then I feel safe within my rules. And it's insanity. It's just insanity. But do you desire a world with no enemies and no conflicts? Then you have to choose, because your world that you've made up will not bring you to that place of harmony and a world without enemies. It is only when you discontinue to deny the truth. What if you just stopped in the middle of something that you believed was going on and that you were reacting to, and you just stopped and you said, oh, whoa, wait a minute. There's no peace here. I'm not experiencing, there's no peace here. My mind's racing, I'm upset, I'm irritated, I am nervous, I'm whatever, I'm angry. Did I believe that this was the way home? Did I believe that this is what I was here for? Was to finish this play in pain and suffering? Or could I stop at any moment and ask, what do I want? What am I here for? What is the purpose of this moment? Is it to remember love? Is it to remember the truth and to stop denying the truth? Or is it to be right? Now maybe you think being right means when you actually make a statement of something and you believe that that's either right or wrong as your statement. But it isn't. Being right means that you are following what you believe in. And you are following it because you believe you're right. And you defend it because you believe you're right. Not getting the connection, connecting the dots to recognize that this is actually pain. Do you believe that there is something to defend? If you desire a world without enemies, there would be nothing to defend. Because enemies aren't just other beloveds in form. Enemies are made out of everything. Enemies are made out of time. Enemies are made out of the cold weather. Enemies are made out of hot weather. Enemies are made out of discomforts. Enemies are made out of headaches. Enemies are made out of whatever is your belief that is causing you to forget the truth of love. And that's all that has meaning of. When we speak of pain and suffering, it isn't that the body sensations stop. It's about the recognition that you don't have to be at the effect of it. That it does not have to disturb your heart. That it does not have to distract you from the truth of love. That it doesn't have meaning except the meaning that you're giving it. And you are suffering through the meaning of it. I desire a world without enemies. But it's really to see, because what the ego also likes to do is to make, doesn't use the word enemies. It uses other words, other descriptions of, she doesn't understand me. He doesn't understand me. He's not on the same page. She's not on the same page. Those neighbors are just not like us. Those neighbors are difficult. Because they don't agree with me, because they don't follow my way, because I had an agenda, because I thought it should be a certain way, because I saw things, and not realizing in all of that the insanity is in all of those thoughts. That the insanity is right here within you, in your belief that there is something to battle with. Nothing is ever outside you. This is the most upside down element that's been held by the belief of separation. That there is something outside you that is causing you pain. That there is someone outside you, something outside you that is causing you pain. If you could recognize that it is your desire to have enemies that is causing you pain, and that you are projecting into the world, if you can recognize that, all the pain and the suffering stops, because you no longer have any desire to have enemies. You are no longer willing to see the world as an enemy. And your world is inside also. It isn't just the outside world, it's the inside world. It's the self-judgment. It's the fear. It's the habits. It's the knowing. Knowing is painful. It's absolutely incredibly painful to know what you know, because everything that you know is coming from your past. And it's painful. I desire a world without enemies is that I don't want an enemy in here anymore. I don't want to believe that there is an enemy in here that I have to keep self-attacking with judgments and with criticisms and with being right, and then having, one of the funniest things that the ego does is the argument within, the battle within between being right and having another opinion. Two opinions within the same structure. Well, I don't know. Well, maybe this, maybe that, maybe this, maybe that. I don't know. I don't know which way to go. I don't know what to do. Well, there is a divine voice of love that is wanting to lead you into peace and harmony, if you're willing to listen and step out of your mind identity with the battle that's going on within? Can you accept that love never battles? If you are in belief of conflict, the conflict is between two elements of the ego, two elements of the false self, arguing with itself. There's never any argument in love. There's never any battle in love. Can you stop in the middle of whatever it is that you're believing in and doing and thinking about and focusing on, and the facade that you're bringing and using and dancing with? Can you stop and say, is there love here? Is this peace? Is this harmony? I'm making something up. Maybe it's habit. It probably has a habit element. You can step out of a habit if you truly want to. If you don't want to be right anymore. If you truly want to recognize that truth will correct all errors held in my mind. Truth will correct it. What is correction? Correction is healing. It's taking the belief of separation and letting it go. Do you like correction? You have to learn to love correction instead of, I hate correction. I don't like it. I want my way. If you want your way, there will be pain and suffering, not because it's punishment, but because your way is a way of pain and suffering. It's a way of battle. It's the way of the belief of self-hatred. And correction is love that's saying, my darling, there is nothing here that is about pain and suffering except what you're making up. And there is nothing that is needed here to be held in this. There's no gain at all if you're willing to be corrected. Do you desire a world where you recognize power instead of helplessness? Power of love. The power of love that creates. Do you want to join the power of love that creates, or do you want to stay believing that you are helpless? There is a temptation of helplessness. Little tentacles that come with it. The temptation of helplessness is, I'm weak. And then I don't have to take a risk. I don't have to change. I can just say, I'm used to this weakness. I'm used to feeling helpless. I'm used to feeling weak. And I'm afraid of power. I'm afraid because I will lose my independence, or what you consider to be your independence, which has no freedom in it at all, which is the slave walking around with chains around saying, yes, I'm very independent. I can go anywhere with these chains around my ankles. Oh yeah, well, it's connected to hell, but don't pay any attention to that. I'm independent with it. But to really open to independence, freedom, is to open to power, to love, to truth, and that you want only the truth. O divine beings of love, free me from all beliefs of negativity. Free me from torment. But first you have to recognize what the torment is. The torment is what you know. The torment is your mind that says, I'm in control. And that there is something to protect. Do you want a world without enemies? Love offers you a world without enemies. And now the ego doesn't want a world without enemies because there's nothing to do in a world without enemies. There's nothing to plan for. There's nothing to battle with. There's nothing to control when there's a world without enemies. A world of love, a world of peace, a world of tranquility, a world of coming home to the love that you are and resting, simply resting in love and allowing and letting the world flow in peace and harmony. This is the world of love, and it's yours. It's who you are. But it takes that leap of faith to say, I'm starting to doubt that I'm right. Because it doesn't work. I keep hitting the same walls. Every time I think I'm right, I hit the same walls. There is such a divine gift in every moment that you hit a wall. The gift is, oh, something's here that's ready to be healed. Something is coming up that has been running and running me in the belief of separation, and now it's here and it's coming up for healing. Now the ego could say, oh God, not again, I'm so tired of this, why do things have to keep happening? Well, you know, in the journey of the seeming journey of remembering, I can remember having that thought, and then the voice of love would come in and say, oh really? Well, what else are you doing here? What else is this for? What else is time for? What else have you got to do? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I'm here to heal. And in that willingness to heal, healing occurs. Because when something is wholly devoted to the truth, healing occurs. Because there's no more fight. There's no more fighting and battling. It's hard to conceptualize or to bring into the light that battle and conflict is knowing. Everything that you think you know is a battle. It's a battle that says I'm right against the truth of love. And there's no opportunity for love's healing there. Nothing at all. Can you accept that? Can you accept that love does not battle? If there's a conflict within you, it's a conflict of the ego with itself. Can you recognize it and bring it to healing? It's just the willingness to surrender. Can it be that simple? Yes. Whatever the situation is, when it is wholly devoted to truth, peace is inevitable. Wholly devoted to truth. So let's say, and what you think you're doing is minding your own business, but your mind is like thinking of all different kinds of things, and all of a sudden you're in an upset. Where do you think that upset came from? That upset didn't come from something outside that it just attacked you. It came from your beliefs of battle. It came from your beliefs that there needs to be conflict. This is self-punishment, self-attack. And then in that self-attack, because you can't stand the self-hatred that it brings to the surface, you try to find the problem outside. The culprits have got to be out there someplace. At least to have a companion in the culprit. Maybe it's somebody from the past that you say, oh, well, if it wasn't for this incident in the past, I wouldn't be thinking this now. It's that incident in the past, and it was that person's fault in the past that I'm thinking this now. No, there's nothing outside what you believe in. You came into this incarnation, into every incarnation, in the belief of separation. And everything that you believe, you brought with you. You fine-tuned it with different names and different places and different identities that you could focus on and project onto, making it their problem, their fault. But this is the gloriousness of healing. In the glory of healing, it's to recognize that, oh, there is nothing outside, and in that recognition, it's, I can let this go. I can surrender what I'm believing in, and I will be healed. It isn't about healing somebody else outside, healing a situation outside, making somebody else different so that you feel better. It's, I came here to heal this belief. And I'm believing everything that of separation that I'm making up in my own, personal story. But they're all the same. They're all the beliefs that there are enemies. An enemy in here that cannot possibly be the truth of love, and enemies out there because they're projected self-hatred projected onto everyone else. And yet the healing is right here in love, nowhere else. There's nothing to get, nothing to prove, and nothing to accomplish. Just the letting go and the acceptance that you truly want a world without enemies. And the enemies are not those big, ugly, bad guys that are the world's named enemies. They are the enemies of irritation. They are the enemies of impatience. They are the enemies of worry and concern. They are the enemies of doubt and suspicion. That's how everybody makes their enemies, is by projecting those beliefs onto others and to try to get away from the enemy within. And I'm calling every beloved to accept that you truly desire, you truly want to have a world without enemies. And your journey to letting go of the belief that there are any enemies, that anyone is a problem, that anything is a problem. Let me recognize the problem so that it can be solved. Let me recognize that the only problem is that I believe I'm separate. Every enemy, every seeming problem in this world is because you believe that you are separate from God. It doesn't matter what form it comes in. It's because I believe I'm separate. And what does separate mean? Separate's just a word. That I am without. That I am lost. That I am unworthy of love. That I am not in the wholeness of love. That I am not love itself. I'm separate and something else. I'm separate. Alone. Without. Afraid. Determined that I need to prove something. And in that belief of separation is born the belief that you have to prove and earn your way back to God. That you have to earn your way to come home to peace. That you have to do like good deeds or have a good, dye your hair, whatever, get a new outfit, have a better income, as if those are the criteria for being worthy of love. You have nothing to prove, ever. There is no need for proof because you are already the divine. You have always been the divine. You couldn't be anything else. Love cannot leave its source. Love cannot be changed. Love cannot be altered. There is nothing to earn, nothing to prove. But can you accept that? Can you let go of all those enemies? The enemies of trying to prove, the enemy of trying to gain, of trying to win. Those are the enemies. I willingly desire a world without enemies, a world of peace, a world of joy, a world of tranquility. I say yes. Not to become that, not to earn that, but to open to the awareness of this divine truth that is right here and has always been. Resting in God is not about taking a nap. Resting in God is letting go of the mind and resting in the truth. Resting, sinking in, relaxing, not fighting with love anymore, not trying to defend and protect and prove anything, but the willingness to just accept that only love is real, only love exists, nothing else is true. But first you have to really recognize what you're fighting with. You have to recognize that you believe in enemies. Now the ego would like to say, oh yeah, well that's true of everybody else, but not of me. I'm good. I'm really good. Look how I present myself. I'm always the epitome of gentility. I'm always so contained. I follow the rules. It's not me. Well, those rules that you're making up and you're following are enemies. That facade that you're carrying that says, I have to present a structure to everyone in order to be safe, that's part of the identity of being an enemy. A world without enemies. A world of love, a world of peace and tranquility and joy. Nothing else is true. But can you accept that? In this prayer, O my divine Creator, I'm willing to be freed from torment and freed from all beliefs of negativity. This is a calling of your heart that you're willing to let this go. But truly, you have to want a world without negativity, without torment. Because you can't have it just, I want to be free of torment and negativity. I want everything of love to be free of negativity and torment. Because I am projecting that torment and that negativity on everyone. Because I believe in it. It's not a condemnation. It's not a condemnation at all. It's just, let's shine the light on this false identity so that it can be let go. And I say yes. to forgive myself for believing in these false identities, to truly accept forgiveness that I've done nothing that has changed the truth of love. And I'm willing to begin again in this moment, in freedom, in love. I'm willing. Hear this, beloved. Hear the truth of what I ask. I'm asking for this forgiveness. I want to remember the truth of forgiveness. I ask for the comfort within my heart, the comfort of the truth that I've done nothing, the comfort of the truth that I'm innocent, the comfort of the truth that everyone is innocent and that there is only one and that there is no enemy. Heart, not to get something from them, but to recognize we are all as the oneness, whole and complete, and that nothing is missing. There is nothing to get from somebody else, and there is nothing to prove to someone else, not even in the ego's under the radar way of trying to get something from somebody else. I'll prove how good I am so everybody loves me. I'll prove I'm so wonderful because I'm carrying all this guilt of all of my thoughts of negativity and enemies. So I'm going to give another face. I'm going to let that face go. I'm not going to pretend anymore, but I'm going to truly open my heart and step into love, step into tranquility, step into harmony. Accept that this is all that is true and nothing else. I accept the truth of love. So in this moment, if there is a question, allow your heart to speak.
Could you please speak to the balance between confronting ourselves, so to speak, or maybe there's a better word for that, addressing ourselves on our errors, and resting, just being?
Well, they're not in opposition. First, we'll take out the word confront. But to observe, to truly want to see what's in the way. But in that, the subtlety of it is that you are asking to be shown what's in the way. It's not you going on a witch hunt and ferreting out, found all the problems. It's really that resting place of trusting that the spirit of love will show you what's in the way if you truly want to see what's in the way. Trust me on this, the Holy Spirit will show it to you. But you can be resting the whole time because you're not really the doer. You're just willing. You're willing to see what's in the way because you're not afraid of it. You're not in battle with it in that moment. You're trusting that it isn't true. I always have this vision had this vision walking and healing, of holding hands with my mighty companions. Holding the hands of these mighty companions, these divine beings of love. I was affirmed, I was secure that whatever was shown to me was an error, was a mistake, and that it was just out of love. It wasn't in love. It was an erroneous identity. It was a dream. It was a nightmare. And the nightmare was being revealed so that I could see it and see how I had let it run and how I had lived my life through that belief. And many times in the divine alchemy of love, in the yes to want to see, and I'm saying, I'm prefacing this with that there was nothing special in this healing. It wasn't like, oh, you have special attributes that we can use for healing that nobody else has. No. It was all of a sudden the Holy Spirit would just, and I call it the Holy Spirit, you can call it love, you can call it whatever, but it's the spirit of love, it's the divine truth of love coming through, and I would see like a tunnel of, like in a nanosecond, I would see all of the ways that I had used that strategy, that belief. Not like it's stopping and looking but it was just and it would just reveal all the ways that I had used that. And in that reveal, awareness that yes, that was system. It was clear, but there wasn't any reaction, any fight from here that was going to argue or defend those circumstances. And they weren't pretty. They were ugly in the world's identity of pretty and ugly. They were the scum that I believed I was. They were it was the hatred, it was the vile wanting everyone dead, it was whatever, it was, but it would be like shown to me. And in that moment was the choice of release, that I was not that, and the acceptance that I was not that. The acceptance, not because I decided I wasn't that, but because this was the truth being revealed, and that it wasn't the truth of love. The truth was that it was made up. And in that, it was only resting. It was like watching a movie. You know, you can certainly rest and watch a movie. It was resting the mind and just allowing.
So if what I'm noticing that my mind is overactive, and I notice that that's brought to my attention, but I can't, in the moment I'm not yet fully stopping it. It's not like I can just say, oh.
No, but it's not really about stopping it. So it's a subtlety, okay? Because it's not really about stopping it, like stop it. Stop it right now. Then there's pain, and then there's battle, because you're believing it's real, and you're talking to something that's an illusion. It's turning away from it and turning toward the truth. So every time that the mind is saying, this is right, this is right, this is right, you don't give it allegiance. You don't give it validity. So you can observe it, but not battle with it. And you turn toward the truth every time. There is only love. I could see peace instead of this. So in this teaching, I could see peace instead of this. that's a cry that says, I'm choosing. I could see peace instead of this, because this doesn't mean anything. And I'm willing for peace right in this moment. Nothing is happening. So what happens if you just observe and just, oh, there's peace instead of this. I may not be aware of it right now, but I'm going to choose peace instead of this, of what I know. There's nothing to battle with. It's like a child having a temper tantrum. You know, a 3-year-old on the floor having a temper tantrum. You can get very engaged in that temper tantrum. You can get all fretted out and I don't know what to do, and you know, having upset about it and stop it because you're disturbing me. Or you can observe this temper tantrum and is it a cry for help at that moment? Yes, but then you have the cry for help is, I'm willing to see peace instead of this. I'm willing.
So this is a real strong practice in accessing love toward ourselves.
Yeah, but it's just relaxing. It's just trusting love is there. It's not trying to formulate something. It's not making up something else. You know, it's just that. Now what the ego doesn't like about it is that it doesn't give you a sense of control. In that moment, you know, the ego is going to be screaming, feeling in control, I don't know how to handle this. And there's nothing, it's to keep coming back that there's nothing to handle. Because there's nothing happening. It's like walking through a Halloween house. You know, where things are jumping out at you and you know, and while you're walking through that Halloween house, you're breathing and you're going, okay, none of this is real. None of this is true. This is all that I've made up. This is my world. Welcome to it, but it's not true. And I'm walking toward the light instead of this, because this is not the truth. And it shows up in all of its various ways, absolutely. And does it take faith, trust in the truth? Absolutely.
And forgiveness.
And forgiveness. For whatever's coming up that says, oh, you're horrible, you're horrible, you're horrible, or whatever, it's like, no, God has promised me this is not true. And I forgive myself for believing this in the past. I'm not willing to believe this anymore. In Yogananda's teaching of when the guest is no longer welcome, the guest will leave, all of these nightmares start to fall away when they're not given an honored place. But then it's also that as you're walking through the day, so one of the things that the ego likes to do is to collect grievances. Let's collect them. It's kind of like an Easter egg hunt. I'm doing a theme here. We're doing Halloween, Easter, get to Christmas. So the Easter egg hunt is, I'm going to gather up all my grievances all day long. Tiny little grievances. I don't like this. This is annoying. I wanted it like this. Why aren't this cooperating? And all day long, little grievances all over the place. Most of them not even noticed because they're so habitual. So it's to bring, and this is a learning. It's to bring a vigilance to the day. While you're still resting. So it's not a vigilance of a vigilante. It's love's vigilance. It's the willingness that, where am I? Where have I gone? What am I believing in right now? What am I aligned with right now? Is it peaceful? Is it joyful? If it's not, I'm making something up. And the willingness to recognize the grievances. And when you want to recognize this habit of grievances, the Holy Spirit will begin to show it to you, because you want to recognize it. You're not alone. This isn't a self-healing journey. This is opening to the divine alchemy of love, and allowing the transformation to take you, and then you join with that in your willing to recognize all the grievances of the day, or where you're judging, or where you're deciding things all day long. And I come back to this so often, of the likes and dislikes, and why this is such a place that it's kind of like a petri dish of the ego, all the likes and dislikes. Because while you're making decisions on likes and dislikes all day long, those are your grievances. Those are, I like this, so this I give approval to. If we take the word likes and dislikes out and make it approvals and disapprovals, as if you're the king, of your kingdom. I deem this to be good. I deem this to be bad. I deem this to be good. Making your own little world. And you're separating everything. Instead of, everything is love. Let me see the truth of love in everything. Because that's what's true. And I don't want anything else. And I'm willing to be dedicated. Vigilance is dedication. Vigilance has to do with awareness, wanting to be aware of what's running. But it's dedication, that's the energy of it, that you truly want to heal, and that you truly want to join in healing, rather than, I'm going to live my life and do my spiritual practice when I feel like it. Instead of, my life is my spiritual practice. It's not a separate thing. It's not, I live my life and then I do my spiritual practice. My life is my spiritual practice. I am here to remember. But it's not being a vigilante. It's allowing the Holy Spirit to guide, to lead. And in that guidance, it's, where would you have me be? What would be helpful? I don't know how to look on anything. What's most helpful here? I don't know. Show me the way. And you begin more and more to hear that voice of love and the guidance of love. And it becomes your, with you, until you awaken to the awareness that there is only one, and everything merges. And there's no more separate guidance, there's no more separate companions, there's no more separate anything. Its purpose because you believed you were separate. Guidance is only there because you believe you're separate. So it seems like a separate guidance, because it's the voice of love and not the voice of separation that you're used to listening to and following and believing that that's all that there was. Everything that is being healed, the only thing that is being healed is resistance. That's all. If there's no resistance, the healing is done. It's only the, I don't think so, I like it my way, I have an opinion, I have a habit. But that's all really that's being transformed is the resistance. And to forgive yourself for the belief that there was any need for resistance. So in this moment, staying in the heart, allowing the heart to stay open, available, no agenda, nothing to prove, nothing to get from anyone or anything. And to take that open heart home. Let that open heart, that undefended heart, be the center of being in every moment. Nothing to prove to anyone here, nothing to fix, nothing to have to know about anyone or anything. Just the truth of love in every moment. One heart and one breath, affirmed in love, affirmed in light. As much as possible, staying in a heart space of quiet silence. And just allow the deep surrender to continue. I desire a world without enemies. I desire a world of peace and harmony and joy. I say yes to the truth, yes to love, yes to light.